Now, building a successful business is never easy. There are going to be seasons where you are absolutely crushing it, and there will be seasons where life just happens. So, how do we continue to do our best, show up, and choose joy throughout the whole process? Well, it's definitely something that is not easy, and today's guest, Angie McPherson, shared with us what that looks like for her. Angie is a brand photographer, marketing strategist, and educator, and she walks us through her entrepreneurial journey and shares with us how she was able to stay grounded as she walked through the hardest season of her life and still build a successful business. Angie reminds us that choosing yourself and finding joy can help you through the wild seasons of entrepreneurship and keep you focused on building the business and life of your dreams. Now let's get into the episode. Now, I already know you're going to enjoy today's conversation, so make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never have to miss an episode. Hey, girl.
Hello, dear.
Oh my gosh, how are you?
I'm doing so great. So happy to be here, sitting in so much gratitude for you having me on. Like, I adore you. I adore the podcast. Like, what is life right now that I'm here?
Oh my gosh. Well, no, I adore you. And of course, I knew you were going to come on the show, girl. It was just going to be, just a matter of time. It was like divine timing that the time has finally arrived.
Aww.
And I'm just really excited to have this conversation with you because when I first met you back in 2021 at the Creative Educator Conference, we were both speakers that year.
Yeah.
And I just loved you. Like, number one, I was obsessed because I just loved so much about your personality of like how you love game shows. Like, you are the most lucky, like one of the lucky people, like with game shows and something that I just see all the time. I'm like, go ahead, girl.
I love a good game show. Like, if something's like, oh, we are accepting applications, I'm dropping everything and I'm applying for this daggone game show. Like,
but you've been on some game shows.
I've been on two. Yeah. And I've applied for some really big ones this year. And I'm just like, I'm going to catch my big break. I just know it. Like, I would love to get on. Have you ever watched Squid Game Challenge on Netflix?
Yes.
Where it's like 400 people and like one person wins like 4 point something bajillion dollars. Like, I'm getting on that show. Or I'm getting on The Circle. One of those, I'm claiming it.
We're claiming it. And when you get on The Circle, girl, I will be watching. Like, it's not even an if, it's when. We are literally, it's happening. We are speaking this into fruition.
Yes.
When it happens, girl, I will be rooting for you. I will be so thirsty watching every single week, tagging you in every single video because it is going to happen. But this is just like things that I just love so much about you. And is just like, you truly are an individual who just radiates joy, and you see it all throughout your brand, your work, everything that you do. When people are around you, I feel so excited, so uplifted, so seen and valued. And I truly, like, that is truly a gift. Like, a lot of people don't have that, and you're one of the people that have that. And so, but one thing that I just want to talk about just with you of just how you've evolved as a business owner, I feel like there's just been, you have had, like all of us, like high highs and low lows. And so for you, walk us through like what your journey of entrepreneurship has looked like for you to where you are today.
Yeah, it's so interesting to think about my journey. I've been a photographer and an entrepreneur for 11 years now. And I don't know, it's like the longer you've been an entrepreneur, it feels like you just started a business and it feels like you've been in business forever. Like, it's like these two very different feelings. Like, sometimes like I can't believe that like my very first photo shoot, I did like a senior session for $50. And like, she literally handed me, like, I drove to her house, printed out the contract. She signed the contract. I drove it home. Like, it's crazy. And then she handed me $50. I still have the $50 like taped up somewhere in my closet. And I'm just like, I just cannot believe the growth in the last 11 years. Like, but it also just feels like yesterday, where I was like so excited to finally be getting paid to do something that I love, like, and not like a paycheck from a boss. Like, it was like wild to me. So I started actually as a wedding photographer and love shooting weddings, shot weddings for years, 6-7 years. And then I decided to pivot into a new niche, which is like, I always have like these pivots in my business, and it's always so scary, but so exciting. I had a very established wedding photography business. I had quit my job, my full-time job, to do wedding photography full-time. And I started, I started my family, I got married, had a baby, and I was just like, I don't want to be shooting 10-hour wedding days every Saturday from April to September. Like, I'm missing out on quality time. So I pivoted to branding photography. And then as I was doing that, it's like another pivot came because all these photographers were like, I've seen you pivot from weddings to branding. How did you do that? And I didn't really have the intention to, like, I loved educating already, but I didn't have any intention to like make a course or do anything like that. And I was talking to Jasmine Star about it. And I was like, people really want to know how I did this. How can I help? And she gave me the best business advice ever that I still think about anytime I think of a pivot. And she said, you need to buy where the land is cheap and build a high rise. And she's like, people are wanting the information. There's not a lot of information out there. Create the information, create the community. And so I created for a lot of free resources for photographers. I created courses. I've created coaching. I have a retreat coming up. And just like that was just another pivot of pivoting from a brand photographer to like a brand photography educator and a coach. And I've had hundreds of students go through my programs and literally have just built amazing brand photography businesses. And I'm just like, this is what happens when you listen to your audience and you take inspired action, because I think about the people who paved the way before me. I learned about wedding photography from Jasmine Star, from Caitlin James. And I'm like, if they never created content, I don't know where I'd be. I'd be like splicing things together from like Google and whatever. And so I think about every time I'm like, should I do this? Can I help people? I'm like, the more that I put myself out there, the more other people can learn and get better. And I see that in my community and my students, and how a lot of them have just gone through it and they are thriving now. And it pushes me to continue that. And so then a couple years ago, 2021, the top of the year, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And it was a rug pull. It was a rug pull. I had 2 small kids, and as a mom, and this might just be me, like my biggest fear has always been something happening to my kids. And I had never thought about me getting sick, my husband getting sick. Like I've always just had those typical mom worries of like something happened to the kids. And so like mentally and emotionally, I didn't know how to function. Like I was just like, okay, I found a lump, let me go to the doctor. And the doctor's like, let's, you're only 33. Let's have your first mammogram because I feel it too. Let's just see if it's there. They found 2 lumps, and cut to surgery, to 6 months of chemotherapy, to 5 weeks of radiation. Literally from January to December of that year was an active treatment. Doctor told me how to do chemo. I would lose my hair. I told my husband to buzz it. I went bald. It took years for it to go back. And it's just like, it's just so difficult. Like the emotional state that I was in, I look back and I'm like, how did I get out of the bed every morning? Like the fear I had that whole year that things would go really south. And it was just such a scary time. And the one thing that really helped me, and my husband gave me the advice, I literally would go throughout the day and, be mom to my kids and show up on social media and do my business and blah, blah, blah. And as soon as I closed the bedroom door in my kids' room at 8:00 at night, I would go in my bedroom and just cry from like 8 to like midnight. And my husband would come in, like bring me ice cream, go out, come back in, talk to me. I'm just like, let me cry. This was like while I was doing the chemo and all that stuff. And he said, you should just like search your cancer on social media and see if there are other people talking about it. And I did. And that was life-changing because I was seeing these women, 1, being alive, which was my biggest fear, and 2, like living, like on vacation and running businesses and being a mom and all these things. And I would, me, girl, I'm an extrovert. I would send a DM and they'd be like 2 years, cancer free. And I'd send a DM and I'm like, oh, I was just diagnosed. I saw your stories. This is so inspiring. And some girls are like, here, take my number. Like text me, call me. I would get on the phone with random women. And that helped me so much because it's such a lonely feeling of like, my husband listens, my family listens, but like nobody understands. Especially like people, they'd be like, oh, like, well, you can talk to my grandma who's 60. And it's just like, it's just a very different season of life. And I was like, I want to talk to other moms, other mompreneurs. Like can anybody connect me? Can anybody, I literally would put on stories like, can anybody connect me with, it was like a dating profile. I was like, I need a cancer survivor within the ages of this, with this many kids, and and people were just like, here you go. It's like, it was just like, people would just send me so many people. And so I immediately became that person for other people. I was like, I'm going to take my audience through the mess and through everything that I'm going through, because I know that there's somebody a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 days from now, this is going to happen to them, and they're going to go to social media, and I want to be that person for them. And girl, this was, I think it's 2024. This was 3 years ago. And I have had so many people on Instagram said, hey, a friend showed me your profile, or hey, I found you on, a hashtag of the specific type of cancer that I have. I've been diagnosed, and I'm those people. Here's my number. What's your address so I can send you a book? And here, like, let's talk. And so many of them have said, like, I found a lump and I'm glad that I saw your stuff because it convinced me to go to the doctor. And now I have stage 2 breast cancer. And I'm just like, and it goes back to our conversation earlier. It's like, to just share what is going up, the highs, the lows, like, it can truly help somebody. It can save somebody's life, like, literally sharing what you're comfortable with. And so it's been crazy. Like, I am cancer free, is what they don't even say cancer free anymore. They say NED, no evidence of disease. I'm like, what is that crap? Like, come on, like, stop. But on social media, I am very, extroverted. I choose joy. I'm in gratitude all the time. And before we hit the record button, you and I were talking, and I was like, it's still hard. Like, it's still so hard. I'm not going to go and get on Instagram and cry every day. Like, that's not helping anybody. Like, I want to speak positivity. I have to speak positively, because my mind can go in a totally different direction. And so it's like, I'm literally forcing myself to choose joy, to choose gratitude, to choose my faith. But it's hard, Akua. It is so hard. I still do, like, treatments. I still do, like, I thought, oh, once you're diagnosed and you go through chemo and all that stuff and you're cancer free, you're done. No, girl, you got to take pills for the next 5 to 10 years. You got to go to the infusion center. I get a needle. I literally sit in the chemo chair that I got my chemo in every 6 months, and get a needle in my arm and get infused with, it's not chemo, but it's still the process. I'm still sitting around, people doing chemo. And it's like, man, the morale, it's like, you have to try so hard. And I think that's why I choose joy, because I have to, like, not fake it till you make it, but, like, faith it till you make it. Like, to, like, launch a program, or, like, do coaching, or do a photo shoot on a Monday. And then, I go to the cancer center 1, 2, 3 times a month, blood work, follow-ups, treatment, all that stuff. So to do something amazing on a Monday, like today, I'm going to record this podcast with you. Tomorrow, I have to get a shot in my stomach that I get every 28 days at the cancer center. And it's like, it's crazy. It's like so high vibe, energetic, choosing joy. And then, oh yeah, I forgot I also had cancer, and it's got a risk of coming back. So I've got to do 4 hours in the cancer center. Like, it sucks. It sucks. And this is like the first time, I was telling you, I'm going to have to record a podcast about this. This is like the first time I've, like, been so honest about that. Like, it freaking sucks. But immersing myself in community, in joy, like going to church, like doing, like, my quality of life as far as, like, my day to day, like what I do with my family. Like, oh girl, I'm a yes mom now. Like, oh, you want to go to Disney World? Yes.
Yes.
You want to go to California for a month? Yes.
Yes.
Like, you want to go to the farmer's market? Like, I try so hard to create such an amazing life, because life is so short. It is so short. And you know what, Akua? So many of the women that helped me through social media, like, hey, here's my number, da 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 da, a handful of them have passed away in 3 years. Women who told me, it's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. I've gone through this. Literally, as recent as last week, I saw one of them on social media. Her husband posted that she had passed away. And we had, this is me getting real vulnerable, we had the same cancer, same diagnosis, same treatment plan, same age. And it's like, the day before, I'm planning this retreat. I'm getting all excited. I'm putting together my registration page. And the next day, she passes away. And I'm just like, man, life is so short. It is it's so short. And so I don't even know where I'm going with this. I just know that this is why I choose the joy, because I don't want the alternative. I don't want to think about a lot of negativity. Like, I don't want to think about, like, girl, drama, don't know her. I don't know her.
You really are very unproblematic. Like,
girl, I don't care. People say crazy stuff in my DMs, or, oh, did you know so-and-so was talking about you? I don't care.
Yes.
Girl, life is short. You think I care what somebody thinks about me? If you're not paying my bills, I'm not paying you any attention. Like,
Facts.
I just don't care. Like, even my relationship with my husband is different after this, because I'm like, nah, whatever. Like, you know, before it's like he says something I don't like, I'm like, let's have a long conversation. No, I'm just like, nah, life is short. You know, like, I just, so many things roll off my shoulders now. If something really bothers me, then you know it's got to be a big deal, because
like,
who
pissed Angie off?
Yeah, I really don't. I don't know. And it's like, you try to like look at Caitlin James. I talked to her a lot about this. She talks about like finding the purpose in your pain.
Yes.
And so I feel like so many things have improved in my life after this. Like, my relationship with my husband has improved. My relationship with my kids have improved. My friendships are stronger. My faith in God is stronger. I know that I've helped so many women on the back end of this that are getting into this. Like, every day I'm choosing joy, choosing gratitude, and choosing to find the purpose in all of this. And, but I'm not going to lie. It sucks.
It sucks.
It sucks. It sucks. But, you know, I have a lot of great days. I have very few bad days, but I have a lot of great days. And I think about the pivots, like starting with weddings, going into branding photography education, becoming like kind of like a voice for breast cancer. Like, it's just crazy how your life can really evolve, you know. And I think about 5 years from now, 10 years from now, like, what am I going to be talking about? What am I going to be offering? Like, I feel like the opportunities are endless. And that's another thing I've took from this, is like, I used to have a lot of like limited beliefs about what I could say, who I could reach out to, what platform I can be on. Like I said, girl, I don't care. I'm going to try everything. I'm going to
get my coins.
I'm going to audition for The Circle and Big Brother and all these things. And I'm going to reach out to this really cool celebrity that I like and ask them if they need branding photos. Like, there's just like, I don't care. Like, I'm going to live for me, for my family, for my faith. And it's just like, you just have to live that way. And I coach a lot of photographers, and just the limited beliefs so many of them have. They're so worried about what my sibling thinks, or my husband thinks, or this random person I went to high school with. And I'm like, you're standing in your own way. Like,
but let's talk about that though. Let's, because, you know, I just love, number one, everything that you shared has been so impactful. I have been like, yes.
Yeah.
And the thing is just like, how brave you have become now that like your whole outlook of life has just changed. And so like, you welcome anything that comes your way within your business. And so like, and obviously like, you've had a very big situation that's like forced you to, right? I think that's happened to like a lot of us, of like, we are so afraid of what people are going to think of us. And then we've had something that forced us to have to change that way. And so like, as you like are coaching your clients, how are people working through that? Like, how, because it's so much easier said than done. And so, especially for you with everything that you've been through, and you're like, I just go for it. And it's true. Like, I think about my own self. Like, there have been times where I have been like so caught up in what I have, like, what people are going to think of me. And it's so exhausting when you think that way, where sometimes I've been like, screw it, I don't care. I'm just going to do it and let's see what happens. And I have been so pleasantly surprised.
Right?
So it's wild. It's a very different mindset to think of. But like, I love how you like, you're constantly in that way. You're like, look, it's either a yes. And if it's a no, that's okay. Like you just to see how your business has evolved so much. It's truly just by you taking a chance.
You're right.
Taking a chance and doing it. And it has just evolved so beautifully. And then this just popped up into my mind too, because I officially met you at the Creative Educator
Right.
Conference,
Mm-hmm.
but I saw you at the last United.
That's right.
So I don't even know if we talked very briefly.
Girl, we danced on the dance floor. I have a video of you and Laylee dancing on the dance floor.
That was, yes, we danced. Yes. Okay. And then I had heard so much about you. Mm-hmm. And I remember your hair was just growing back.
Yeah. I was freshly, I had a little buzz cut.
But you look beautiful though, girl. I was like, she can pull it off, girl.
Let me tell you, low maintenance, sis. If I had to, I always joke, I don't know if you've seen the episode of Fear Factor years ago where the girl had to buzz her whole hair for $25,000. If you would have asked me 4 years ago, oh, absolutely not. Today, I'll do it for $1,000. I don't care. It's low maintenance. It's cute. I'll take it.
Oh my gosh. But to your point of just you being there, and then you won that award, but just the community, truly just seeing so many people that have came to rally behind you. Cause I said, I had seen your story off of other people's pages that I didn't follow before I had officially met you at United. Mm-hmm. And then Creative Educator Conference. I'm like, okay, so now everything's coming back to me.
Yeah.
But I just remember everything that you shared was it's just the importance of community, and then how you have now turned around and how you pour into other business owners, how you pour into other people that are going through the same thing that you're going through. And just, I think again, it's there is purpose in everything that we have walked through. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes we forget that you're going through a really crappy season, but this is preparing you. You are in a season of preparation for the next thing that's going to happen to you, because now you've built this beautiful business, this amazing life, where you did go to California for a month, and you can tell you are truly living. You are living, and your business is helping you prepare that.
Right.
And so even just, and I struggle with this too, of somebody who struggles a lot with my identity in my work.
Yes.
And was that like that for you before? And then how is it like that for you now as a business owner? How do you view entrepreneurship now after everything that you've just walked through?
That is such a good question. I've always been a workaholic. I love to work. I love to feel like I'm making a difference. And before cancer, it was a lot of working until 2 a.m., after the kids were down, waking up at 6 early. My identity was really wrapped up in being a business owner. And when this season came and I was losing, one thing about me, I'm a control freak. I'm a control freak. It's hard for me to have a VA because I'm looking over everything that they're doing. I
over her shoulder.
I'm just okay, let me prove that 10 times before you put it's hard for me. And so to be in this season of no control was so tough. Having a doctor tell you, you're going to do 6 months of chemo. You're going to feel like crap. You're not going to want to do anything. I'm but how am I going to work? How, in the home, it's okay, Sean can take over a lot of the duties I was doing while I'm doing chemo with the kids. I have help, but in my business, that's where I'm I want all of the control, because I feel and it's not true, I feel I'm the only one that can move the needle forward in my business. So I have to be doing all the things. And this year I've hired a VA, I've hired an integrator, a project manager. I've had a team, an actual team working with me. And it's shown me, and I had to force myself to do that, because I'm I can't do everything. I need to start outsourcing. I need to start not only outsourcing, but letting people grow in my business. And this year was the first year I've really done that. And now I'm just this was necessary. This was necessary.
Yes.
I can't do all the things. And now I'm starting to bring in people who are experts at certain things. And so it takes away a lot of that. Well, now I've got to train this person. Now I've got to, I'm bringing in for my programs, a Facebook ads specialist. She knows what she's doing. Great. I'm bringing in a launch strategist. Great. It's just all these different things in my business that I was doing every single piece 24/7 when I'm not parenting my kids. I'm I need to also have my own identity of Angie McPherson, not the business owner, not the photographer. Can I just sit on my couch and watch an episode of the Kardashians and relax? That can be very hard for me, because I feel this email needs to be answered. Let me do this. Let me do that. But the more that this season has really pushed me to let go of control in different parts of life, it's really kind of folded over into my business.
Mm.
Like we have certain things that I have help around the house now. You know, maybe once or twice a year, I'll have somebody do like a deep clean of the house. And that's great because they can like wipe the baseboards and stuff like that. And it's just, even somebody gave me a coupon for laundry service one time. I had like a free laundry service, and we put all our laundry, they had it folded, they had it organized. And I was like, wow, like there are things in my life that I can let go of. It doesn't have to be on a consistent basis, on a permanent basis, but when you're going through a season where you know you need help, get help. And that is my biggest thing. It is hard for me to ask for help. It is so hard for me. And I think that's the control freak in me. It's just like, I don't even know. I need to like unpack this with my therapist. I don't know what the real issue is for me to ask for help because I'm quick to help somebody. I love
Yes, you love to
helping
help other
people.
people, but it's an ego thing. That's
Yeah,
because it's a huge ego
you're
thing, right?
right.
Like I feel like for me when I ask for help, even in my business,
Mhm.
you know, I feel like I'm a huge burden. Even when I
Yes.
literally ask for help, still, I'll be like, I'm sorry to bother you. And people be, but I'm paying you.
Right.
Like, you know, I'm willing to give you my card and swipe, you know, but it's
Mhm.
wild where even when I'm still seeking for help in my business, like when I hired, I have a copywriter who writes my blog posts, like that's kind of where I've just been starting with like wanting to expand and she is
Nice.
amazing. But I
Uh-huh.
remember when I first reached out to her, I was like, hi, I'm drowning and this
Mhm.
is very important for me in this season of my life. And
Yeah.
so, you know, like, can you help me? And I just remember how I was so timid and I felt so guilty that I like was not the person writing my blogs. I feel like it's just like, I felt like I was less of a business owner because I was not
Mm.
doing everything.
Mm.
Then I felt like I was a fraud. And I just was like, that is the most wild assumption that you can make
It
because you were
is.
only one person. And then I just had to remind
Exactly.
myself, like, Akua, to your point, like, it's okay to ask for help. And then it's like,
Mhm.
but it's also too where that's where my identity was rooted in as a business owner. Like I had to still, and I'm still working on it to this day
Yeah.
where when people ask like, hey, I'm Akua, I always feel like naturally I need to tell them what I do. Like that's where it feels the value. Like, oh yeah, I'm an entrepreneur. Like, right.
Right.
Like as if like, and it's like, no, number one, nobody cares. And and two, it's like, that's where I have even been like, oh, cool. Like, what else? Other things do you like to do? Like, right? We are more
Right.
than our businesses. And I stand by that. And I say it almost every single episode where I'm like, now, like, let me actually do hobbies where like I'm doing voiceover acting, like
Yes.
voiceover ads now, right?
Uh-huh.
Where like I
Uh-huh.
have more other identities
Yes.
that are outside of my business. But then like I get some of my best ideas from doing the most random things ever
Mhm.
and just things that I get to that give me joy that I can pour into to where like I'm able to now have more excitement and joy in my business. And
Right.
so I love how you just shared all of that because it's so true as business owners. Like we do get so caught up, especially when we're in a lot of groups and like we spend a lot of our time with other entrepreneurs and like
Yes.
that's all we can talk about is our jobs, which there's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with that. But it really does put you in like a bubble in a sense of like, and sometimes it's hard to switch out of it.
Girl, let me
Totally.
tell you, I'm so glad you said that because we do like social media groups, like Facebook groups, in-person groups. We really are surrounded by our peers in this.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's challenging to go to lunch or dinner with maybe a friend from college or a friend from high
Sure
school
is.
that is not an entrepreneur.
Not an entrepreneur. Yes.
And I'm like,
Yes.
what do we talk about?
Talk about.
And that is how wrapped up we are in our identity because
I'm
I'm
like,
like,
yeah, the
I should
sky.
be able to hold a conversation not about entrepreneurship, not about photography with anybody. Like, it's so funny to me. I have to take a moment and and this is my default. Let me just ask about them. Like, what's going on with you right now?
What's happening, girl? Like, and I'll just keep putting it on them. I'm like, don't ask me because
Right.
it's gonna go to my business. Like, yes, I want
Exactly.
that. And I will say though, like, it's hard, but as a side note, I love going to business with fellow entrepreneurs. So we'll be like, ask us about business. Then like, tax write off.
Right. Right. Yeah.
We're
And
like, yeah,
even
write it off.
I'm
It's
like, oh,
so
this
funny.
this Mexican meal is all of a sudden a business
A
meeting. All right,
business
thank you.
meeting. All right. But you know, but it's so true though. I mean, it is like even when yeah, like I have a lot of business friends. And even
Yeah.
in my season of like moving to a city where I don't know anybody, like I moved to
Mm,
Chicago 9 months ago, full
mhm.
transparency, I have no friends outside of my entrepreneur friends.
Girl,
You're
what?
shocked, you're shooketh, but every single weekend when Ruth, she was she was on our podcast team, love her.
Yeah.
Shout out to her, but she would ask me every single Monday meeting of, did you leave the house today, Akua? Did you leave the house this
Oh
weekend,
my
Akua?
gosh.
Like because she would ask, because she knew, she's like, you're too wrapped up in your job. You need to go out and
Mhm.
make friends. You
Mhm.
just moved to a new city. It's very isolating. Like, she had to keep me in check. And have I left? No. And so
Akua.
it's rough. It's rough. And but I'm actually like, literally, I now have started planning like dates with myself of like, to
Aw,
actually see what Chicago has to offer
I
and
love
stuff like
that.
that. Because like, again, like, I want to be able to enjoy my business and stuff like that. But like, I don't want it to be like, that's all I see. But anyways, to your point, it is,
Exactly.
it's really hard to like turn off. But I feel like we have to turn off as entrepreneurs, because that's how
Yes.
you're going to be able to build a sustainable business, is because you are happy. Your business is not there to make you happy, right? Like, when you
Exactly.
are happy, that's how you build, like, create a successful business. And so I think, again, we have to really just be much more intentional about taking
Mhm.
care of ourselves,
Yeah.
and also to be much more intentional of spending that time with people outside of our business as well, whether that be family, having those other friends. But yeah,
Right.
no, I feel like there's a lot of us where like we are so engulfed in that space, which is great and it's amazing, and just love that. Truly, it's such a joy. But yeah,
Yeah.
it is hard. It can be difficult sometimes to build relationships outside of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, and when it comes to me with my day-to-day, like, identity, what I've done in the past couple weeks, it's been so helpful, is drop the kids off at school and preschool. The old Angie would literally run to the laptop and start work. And the past couple weeks, the weather has been so nice here in Virginia. I don't even touch the laptop. I get up with the kids, I get dressed to basically go for a walk, drop them off, come home, and I walk 2 miles every morning before I even come home and touch my computer. And it is like me mentally telling myself, you need to choose you. You need to
Mm.
choose you before anything else, before that email, before that Instagram reel, before whatever. Go outside. The weather is beautiful. And of course, you just feel better in fresh air. And I walk 2 miles, and it's done so much for me. It's just done so much for my mental. Like, I don't have to just work, work, work. I don't have to feel like people need something from me all the time. Like, I can actually choose me. Like, and it's like, I don't have to, this is like my time. I'm not
Mhm.
giving somebody a snack. I'm not doing anything. I'm literally just walking and existing. And that can be such a freeing thing, to just spend time existing and not having anybody
Yes.
need you for anything. Just
Anything.
relax.
Yes.
Just relax.
Oh, I love that so much. I mean, I think again, it's just, I think with everything that you've been through, and even just a question I had earlier too that I forgot to ask, but I wanted to ask now, is even when you were going through your treatments, were you still working as a business owner, or were you like, did
Yes.
you just take a complete break? So you were still working.
I was still working, but honestly, I did it because if I did not, I would be. Remember, I said I was crying from 8 to midnight? If I wasn't working, it would
Yes.
be from 8 a.m. to midnight. Like, I was like, I
Mm,
need a distraction. I need to go through life normally so I don't feel like this is uprooting my entire life. So I had just opened enrollment to one of my programs and was diagnosed like 5 days later. And I had to, it
mm,
was a live program that I taught live every Monday for 6 weeks. And I had to go into that group and tell them I was diagnosed. I'm still going to be showing up. And I'm so glad I did. They were so understanding. They were comforting. I really still felt like I was still helping people. And just having to do that, I said, I'm just going to continue to work. Of course, I'd scaled everything way back. I didn't
mm-hmm.
shoot as much. I didn't launch my programs as much that year. I didn't travel too much, but I still had like my week to week tasks and projects and things that really helped me to feel normal. Because I feel like when you go
Mm,
through that season of diagnosis, of treatment, and things like that, you just feel like a cancer patient. And that is
mm,
like the worst feeling you want to have. You don't even think about cancer. I was like, whatever I can do to make me forget about what I'm going through,
mm-hmm.
give it to me. And so I was volunteering at my kids' school quite
Mm-hmm.
often. I was working, I was shooting, I was hosting courses, I was going live on Instagram talking about photography, like normal day to day tasks that helped me to balance out all the mess that was going on.
I will say, even within that, like, you still were choosing yourself, which is so
Yeah.
beautiful. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
were still, I don't know if you've noticed that, but even within that, of like, just even having some sense of normalcy as when
Mm-hmm.
things just aren't technically what we would consider normal, right? And you were
Right.
like, no, like, I'm still going to be able to choose myself so I can still show up in a way that feels good to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just so beautiful. And it's, again, amazing how you were just honest with people with where you were at in your business, and people still supported you. People still wanted to purchase from you, right? I think sometimes we always have this fear of like letting our clients down and stuff like that. And a lot of times when you're just really honest, they love that. They love that because they see you as human, and they're more willing to support you because of that honesty. So, in the fact that you were still able to show up, and whatever you did was more than enough.
Yeah.
And so that's something too, I just love to remind business owners, like, whatever you're doing for your clients is more than enough. Like, they see what you're doing. They love what you're doing. And so like, I feel like sometimes too, like, I remember like when I first started out and I was like, oh my God, like when you get your first couple clients, you're like overexerting yourself. I would answer emails late at night. Like I had no sense, like, you know what I mean? And they would still answer at like 9 to 5. Like, you know what I mean? And eventually I was like, Akua, they'll be fine if I just stop doing that. Right. And they sure were.
You're right. I feel like those early stages, you're just like, I want to make everybody happy. I want to over deliver. And still, like, years in, you still
over deliver, yes, but you can still honor yourself. Like, I used to have sale calls Monday through Friday. Now you only get me on Wednesday for a couple hours.
Like, right. That's the best. Like having 1 or 2 days a week where I love kind of like block scheduling like that. Like 1 to 2 days where I take discovery calls or coaching calls, things like that. I personally do like no meeting Monday. Like, I don't want any meetings where I got to be on Zoom on a Monday, because you got to choose me. I got to choose me and figure out what my week looks like. I even save that for like my CFO day, like my financial stuff. And it's just like, even Fridays, I've turned Fridays into casual Fridays. So it's basically whatever I want to do. If I want to work, fine. If I want to go to the movies by myself, fine. If I want to volunteer, right? Like my son has field day on Friday. Like, Mondays and Fridays are sacred to me. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, like, let's party. Like, let's do whatever. But I have to have these buffers where I can choose me and choose, like a clear mindset on the beginning and the end of my week.
Oh yeah. So that you can function as a business owner. Like, I realized even too with the podcast, like, I used to take interviews on Mondays and I hated it just because the fact of like, I truly am not 1000% there. But like, I just realized I just wasn't like all there. And so now I will only take interviews from Tuesdays to Friday. And if I do have to do a Monday, because sometimes things just like, life is life, and other people's schedule, sometimes it just doesn't align. I will make sure to do late afternoon Mondays, because then I'm like,
okay, you're already checked out.
I'm checked in. You know what I mean? Like, Akua's here, she's fresh, because like usually like late Monday, and that's when I'm like, all right, my week is actually like really starting. You know what I mean? And so I totally get that. Right? I think again, I think the biggest thing that we can take from this conversation is just really choosing yourself. Number one, like, you as a business owner, you're more than your business. But if you want to build a sustainable business to, have more time to spend with your family, to, be there for your kids, or, just to travel more, whatever that looks like for you, choose yourself and do the things that make you happy so that you can show up and be the business owner that you want to be. Like, the business owner that you dream of being, be that today, right? Like, be that today. And so I think that's just such a good thing. Like, everything that you shared in this whole conversation has been amazing. And so the question that I have for you, Angie, is, for what is just overall, as you have looked at your whole journey, what would you want to say to business owners currently, whether they're going through a good season, a hard season, whatever that looks like for people? What is the one piece of advice that you would give?
Oh man, I would say really to work on yourself. I feel like self-development translates into business development. Like, your business is not going to grow if you're not growing internally. And that can mean something completely different for everyone. That can mean someone might need to work on their own limited beliefs. Someone might need to go to therapy and unpack that trauma from 20 years ago. Someone might need to go to Jesus. It's just like, you have to, whatever that means for you, if you feel, and you can feel it, People might have a mask on and oh no, I'm fine, it's all good. You can feel when you've hit some sort of like roadblock, or when you're in an obvious crazy season, like, you can feel there's something more for me. There's some, and it really is just the mind. It is just the mind. Once you get your mind right, and you're never going to be perfect. It's always an evolution of your mind. But once you get your mind right to be more self-aware, more confident, just living in gratitude, like just being so thankful for what you already have. Once you get your mind right and stop speaking so negatively to yourself and worrying about what everybody's thinking of you and just living in fear, once you get that mind right, everything just kind of grows. And I feel like with every pivot in my business, within my personal life, it's always stemmed from let me sit in quiet and let me journal. Like I do morning pages. It's literally 3 journal pages, a stream of consciousness, no prompts or anything. Every morning, get up and I take pen to my notepad and I just write. Like one day it could be I'm listing 100 things I'm thankful for, going from major things like people and experiences down to air and water and dirt in my, like whatever. And one day it's like, oh my gosh, my kids are in swimming lessons. Let me talk about all the growth I'm seeing. It's just the most random things. And the more that I like let these thoughts out and stop just keeping them all in, and I don't know, I just find so much growth in all different aspects of life. So I'm telling myself for the future, like, hey, if something ever happens in the future, just know, take the time and really focus on getting your mind right. Mindset is really everything. It's everything.
It really is. I mean, a lot of the times, and I feel like that is the common thing I keep having with multiple guests on the show. It's like everybody said it in such a different way, but it's so true. Like mindset is just so key. And I love how you said like really that self-development, because even in this conversation, we are not the same person that we were just 2 seconds ago, right? Yeah. Like we are consistently evolving. And so when you evolve as a business, when you're doing that work to evolve, when you're doing the work, you already naturally evolve, and then your needs change. Yeah. Your clients' needs change, like so many different things. And I think of my own journey of like, when I first started as a business owner, like I was like, okay, Instagram strategy is what I wanted to lean into. I freaking hated it. I actually took a break for a year from my business. Like I was still doing business work, but like I had a lot of my clients on retainer. So I was doing a lot of the retainer work, but a lot of like Instagram strategy, I hated it. And so like I took that time out, right? Took that pause, journaled of like, what do I actually like to do? Because that really matters as a business owner. I don't want to resent the work that I'm doing. And took that time to build the service that I have now that I love to be able to confidently speak about, share about, talk about till end on end. Like, you know what I mean? And I think again, I wouldn't have gotten there. I wouldn't have fully understood of like the direction I wanted to go into my business if I didn't take that time. And I'm not saying you have to take like a long break. You're not saying that at all. But I think again, it's like really just putting that time to always just like pour into yourself, self-development, no matter what that looks like. Even if from a business standpoint of like, I need to work more on my productivity or time management. Okay, cool, great. Exactly. Or like, it like, again, like I loved how you shared it can really look different for anybody. And so love that. Oh, Angie, I have just loved this conversation because it's just been so life-giving. And I just really appreciate just your honesty of like how you have truly ran your business. I mean, you've been in the game for 11 years, right? And like through all the highs and the lows that you have brought us into that journey and shared with us of like, and I hope that if you're listening just to know that the business that it's possible for you, no matter what, right? Yeah. Like
no matter what.
No matter what, right? Like I always think of that graphic of like how we view success. It's like, oh yeah, it's going to be this really straight line, but it's like success, what success really looks like. And it's like all these like scribbles everywhere. Yeah. Like you definitely knew you wanted to have a successful business, but you didn't know what the journey was going to look like for you to get there. And so, but it was the fact that you still continuously chose yourself. You still continuously showed up day after day. And it's like, okay, like, look, I'm not quitting, but I'm taking a break, and that's okay. Right. Like you still honored yourself in that current season and relied on the people around you. You asked for help, like those different types of things that I think, we heavily talked about life, but these are things that like that carry on as a business owner. Like you can't run your business, like, right. These things, they're just also intertwined together. And so I thank you so much. And so every single question that we love to end with is, what do you think is the biggest differentiator between the businesses that succeed and the ones that fail?
They keep going. They keep trying. They keep going. The only way to fail is to give up. It's the only way to fail. If you keep going, you're going to hit your goals because you're not going to stop until you hit your goals. So keep going.
Yes. Oh, I love that. So that's like the perfect way to end this episode because, entrepreneurship has shifted so much these past few years. And, I think we saw a lot in the pandemic. A lot of businesses were closed. A lot of businesses a lot of business owners, I feel like generally what I've seen, like some, like in my spaces, business owners that definitely have found their footing, but there's also business owners that still have it, that are still recovering. And so it's just like, if you're listening, like no matter what you're going through, like keep going as a business owner. Like there's a reason why you have this dream on your heart. There's a reason why you are an entrepreneur. So keep going. And so Angie, thank you. Thank you so much. And so for people that want to connect with you, where can they find you?
Yes, you can go to my website, angiemcpherson.com, or hit me up on Instagram. That's where I am every day. It's at Angie Janine, and I'll send you a little voice DM if you DM me. I treat Instagram DMs like Voxer. I'm always just like, hey girl, hey, what's up?
Also on video. Yes, exactly. Also to check out Angie's podcast, because I was a guest on her show, and it is so much fun.
Yeah, and I had a tool on there. Y'all, if you haven't heard the podcast with Akua, this is like the one where people are like hollering. They're like, girl, y'all are just a vibe. Y'all had a good time. And I'm like, please listen to that episode. It's all about storytelling, and that is your specialty. And you dropped so many gems. So yes, make sure if any podcast that you listen, or any episode, go to that one.
You've had so many good ones though. You absolutely have. But yes, I love your podcast. So we will absolutely be putting all of your information in the show notes. And thank you so much, Angie. I appreciate you. I love you. And thank you so much for being here. Yes, absolutely. And for everybody listening, until next time. That ends our episode of the Independent Business Podcast. Everything we've discussed today can be found at podcast.honeybook.com. Head to our website to access for show notes, relevant links, and all of the resources that you need to level up. And if you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast to make sure you never miss our future content. Drop us a review and leave our guests some love on social. And thank you again for listening.